So the other topic I alluded to was, or I never really said it, but I kind of tried to allude to it. I don't know how good of a job I did. You guys can tell me in the comments. But what I was talking about was our sports, I guess it'd be athletes more than players, but are athletes becoming more soft now than they have been in the past? And I believe so, honestly, as I know that, like, coming from high school, I played all three sports in high school: football, basketball, and baseball. And I'm blessed to play college baseball now, and I'm seeing a lot of guys, like, in the culture now, how I see it. I'm gonna go to culture first, and then talk about how it relates back to athletics and stuff. I see a lot of people culturally be like, I don't really want to do this. I don't really want to try hard. They have a bunch of stuff gifted to them, and you know what I'm talking about, kind of like. And I don't really want to bring up politics, but more of like the how Obama rose the unemployment money and cap and all that stuff, so more people were willing to just not have a job, and that's kind of a bad thing. But it's more of like, people aren't really, if something gets, if you can, okay, so I guess my analogy here before I talk about athletes is, would you rather have $30,000 a year handed to you to sit on a couch and watch TV or watch internet, or like just basically be a bum or a college student kind of thing, but without the college? Just like, would you have $30,000 just to basically not do anything, or would you rather have 80, 100, a bunch, like at least 2 to 3, 4 more money than that, going into an actual job, doing work and doing something for an 8 to 5 job? And as I see it nowadays, I think it's more of the first one, where there's more people willing to sit and wait and wait and wait and just do nothing and get rewarded for it. And how I relate this back to athletics is, because I think more athletes are getting soft now, especially at the younger levels. You see, I'm going to start at the younger level, and then I'll relate the economic thing I said back to it. And at the younger level, you see the players have I've seen it more recently because I was an umpire and a coach and all that stuff. And I didn't coach young enough for this, but you see like a baseball, like t-ball and flag football, and I guess really young basketball, like I'm talking young elementary school, are rewarded with a kind of, like, they're not really, they're rewarded with something, like everyone gets a participation trophy, and that's not a bad deal. But I mean, the trophy is, but I'd say, like, give them all like a popsicle or something, give them all candy or something. You don't get, everyone gets a medal kind of thing, and that's the kind of culture we're getting to. But what I'm going to focus on is that people aren't really keeping score, and everyone's, like, the parents are telling everyone that they're the best. And what I see with that, because I see that a lot really younger ages, so elementary and even into middle school a little bit, is like when parents say that their kid's the best, they're like, they think that the coaches care. I guess is the best way to say that. The coaches care, and they kind of, I don't really know how to put that, is like that that they think the coaches care, so like their kid deserves to play kind of thing. And at younger ages like that, so like in middle school and basically all through elementary and into middle school, 6th or 7th grade, it should kind of start being weeded out a little bit. But everyone should play. You should find out the abilities of each kid, what they're good at, how they can get better at it, and all that stuff. I think that's a great thing. But more of what I was trying to think about was, with the everyone gets a trophy thing, you kind of get, and as well as my kid's the best in the world, and telling the kid that, is that these kids don't really think about trying to get better at their sport or get better at anything. And that's it's kind of concerning to me, and that's where my thought process is of these athletes becoming soft. And I'm looking at it at the high school level, and I'm just recently graduated. I graduated 2 years ago, so I'm moderately fresh at this, and moderately fresh out of high school, I should say. And as I think about it, you have the star athletes, the Christian McCaffrey, who's like everyone knows, like, I guess McCaffrey's a bad example. I heard he's a great guy and all that stuff. I don't want to trash on him, but you have the one kid on the team. He's like the star. Let's call him Tom, and he knows, like, let's say a football example. He's the quarterback. He throws. He's the best. He's one of the better guys in the nation. In the district, conference, whatever you want to call it, and everyone knows about how dangerous he is. He can score on any play. He can do about anything and all that. Well, I can say personally from experience in high school, we had one of those kids who was the best in the world and all that stuff. Best quarterback ever, best wide receiver ever, whatever you wanted to say. And like, he thought he was like the best thing since sliced bread. And you guys, I'm assuming everyone's had someone like that before. But what I mean by this is, like, in practice, they kind of are pampered a little bit. And it's not really a coach's thing. I mean, it started that way with quarterbacks not getting hit, and I completely understand that, and wide receivers and all, like, the playmakers not getting hit, and I completely understand that. You don't want them hurt. Understandable. But, like, I always like to make myself better and try and make my teammates better in high school, and with that, you kind of have to work hard in practice, kind of give each other a challenge. And I know when I was a senior and I was just getting on the start to be a starter, after all the work I put in, I had one of my friends, and he was one of the best players I've met. He's one of the best dudes I've met. Hopefully he gets into some higher D1 school, and he challenged me every time. He watched enough film to know that some kids, like, certain kid cuts into the left and certain kids go out to the right, some bull rush, what have you, and I thoroughly enjoy that. I'm not, like, that made me better. It made me prepared for that. But where I'm going with this is those kids that are like the star quarterback, star wide receiver, star running back, or whatever, they kind of like, don't even try, like, just make this easy for me kind of thing. And if they have that mentality in high school, which I know a couple of kids in my school that did, and they're kind of the I'm better than everyone jock types, and if they have that in high school, they're obviously going to transfer that to college, where it just gets a little bit bigger, because they're getting recruited. They're getting they're getting recruited. That's where it all kind of boils over, is where you have the college coach be like, hey, you're one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen, wide receiver, running back I've ever seen, whatever they are. Be like, hey, I want you to come to my school because we're going to make you better. We're going to get you the NFL. We're going to get you the MLB, NBA, what have you. Whatever sport they are. It doesn't really matter. All sports are about the same, at least if they're a true team sport. And that'd be football, basketball, basically anything that's a continuous movement sport. And so, like, the college coaches kind of impede this, or start this, not impede it. And it really starts off with them being like, oh, hey, you're the best thing I've ever seen. I want you at my school. They're doing their usual pitch, and everyone knows the pitch. Well, I mean, you don't know it if you haven't been recruited, but most of them are like, hey, we want you here. You're the best thing ever. We're giving you a full ride. We think you're deserving to play anywhere in the nation, but our school's the best because we're better than them. We like you more. You trash on the other school, all that stuff. And obviously, that's a recruiting tactic. You can do what you want. But if those kids get hyped up like that, and then they go into the NFL, and then they get kind of because these are still kids. They're like probably about 19 to 21, 22 when they first come in. It really depends on when they get in what sport, obviously, too. And sticking with the NFL for just a moment, you get those guys that are coming up in the whole safe space era where you can't really say anything bad, you can't really hurt them, you can't really basically breathe on them without getting hurt, and or without making them offended and all that stuff. And then you have these older guys that are in like their 30s. A little bit, they're basically, what I'm saying is older and more mature, and they're like, oh, you were a high school kid or you were a star in high school? I don't really care. Boom, knock them. And that kind of humbles them, and that's where it kind of starts getting soft, because they still think in their mind, they're like, oh, well, my college coach said I was this, so I'm still that. And then they still get humbled by this, and you see and that's kind of where the flags, staying with the football still, that's where like a lot of the flags come from, is you don't want them really getting hurt or anything. Obviously, that's the first key, but it's a lot of pansy stuff too. I don't really want to say that, but it's a lot of pansy stuff where it's like little small stuff, like even just like with the defenders, you touch them after 5 yards and it's an impediment of process or whatever, and that's kind of stupid. And then you see this more in the NBA with the cheap, or not cheap fouls, but like little, not really anything fouls, like armbar, or like when you swipe at the ball and you hit their arm barely and they call it a foul kind of thing. So you see that more, it's more prevalent in the NBA, and I really don't like it. It just shows that, like, if you're going to, kind of like makes me think that they're going to whine and moan until they get their way, and that's what I'm kind of seeing, especially with the NBA, and I'm seeing a lot more with wide receivers in the NFL too. They kind of run up to the ref and say, oh, or they like, you can see it more with the NBA without the face mask and stuff, where they get in their face and they start yelling, oh, why does this happen? Where's the foul? Where's this? And all that stuff. And that kind of is where I say it's kind of over the line, where you're trying to tell a paid professional that you were in the right. And it just kind of is, it's really stupid to me. And people are just getting really soft and in the safe space stuff. And it's more of just the culture now is to be, if you say something that someone doesn't agree with, that defends them, and they can go to their safe space, and that's bullying if you don't. If they don't agree with it and it makes them feel bad, it's kind of bullying. But I don't really know. It's getting really old to me, at least, and I'm seeing it at all levels where there's people that are demanding that since they're their mom, basically. What I'm going to end this on is I'm seeing it at all levels where their mom was like, their mom saying that they're the best things in sliced bread, and no one can tell them that they're not, so they're believing it, and there's nothing you can do about it because that's what they believe, because no one can say anything different. So if that doesn't get fixed, none of this superstar diva kind of stuff gets fixed either, and you're just going to see more and more stupid, unnecessary fouls in sports dying out altogether, and I don't think anyone wants to see that.